music and let's go to... Hello everybody, welcome to the TPN podcast once again, and now we are officially live. Oh god, this is a new experience for us, isn't it?
A bit scary, I have to admit, never gone live before.
So therefore, you can't say inappropriate comments, otherwise we're going to get called out, unfortunately. We can't edit it out. Not that we would make inappropriate comments, but I'm just saying. So, example, as we're now live, we can't say that one of us may have been a Conservative member who voted for the Brexit Party because they might expel us, like Labour recently have done. So,
oh dear.
We can't edit that one out, can we? I wonder who we could be talking about. Anyway, welcome to the TPN podcast. So we are actually live now for a change. And since last week, we talked about what we thought was going to happen with the European elections. Now,
oh boy.
We made our predictions, we said what we think, and, well, there's been a lot of developments, and we sort of got especially Tommy, he was very vocal with his opinion on Theresa May. Jesus. And we sort of got what we want in that department as well. So, what happened with the European elections then, Tommy?
Well, I think I remember speaking to some people who watched the previous podcast, and they made out the idea that I was being far too harsh on the Conservative number of seats. They said, come on, they can't fall by that much. And I was like, you want to bet? I wish I'd placed money, because I said they'd get around 3 seats. They got 4 seats, so they did better than I thought. However, to go from 18 seats down to 3 seats, what a catastrophe for the Conservatives. I mean, everyone thought, they're going to be affected by this. However, I don't think anyone knew just how bad. The Conservatives is the oldest political party in the United Kingdom, and it has never suffered this bad in any general election before. The swing from them to the Brexit Party was one of the biggest swings ever experienced in these European elections.
So I think we should probably take just a look at just the results of the European elections. So if we go here, we have here zoom in a little bit here.
Always good to zoom in.
Yeah, so here we have the results courtesy of the BBC. Oh yes. So if we have a breakdown of the results here, we can see the Brexit Party won 29 seats in total with a share of 31.6% of the vote. Lib Dems came second with 16 seats, almost half the amount of seats of the Brexit Party. Labour came third with 10 seats, or 14.1% of the party. Greens actually made an increase to 7 seats. Conservatives, 4 seats. SNP, 3. UKIP, well, what can you say? They're completely decimated and gone.
Yep, Plaid Cymru also kept their seat. They also increased their vote share, funnily enough. A lot of people seem to think that Labour was dominant party, and at one time Labour, especially under Tony Blair, was the dominant party in Scotland and Wales.
Yeah.
And what we've seen now especially is that Labour are losing ground to the SNP in Scotland, and they're now losing to Plaid Cymru in Wales. But one of the most surprising thing about Wales, which I remember messaging you to say, is the Brexit Party got over 50% of the vote in Wales. Now, to me, that is an absolute shock, because Wales, I'd say Wales is probably the closest to England in terms of politics. However, to see the Brexit Party doing well in quite a Remain area, Wales was a Remain country, and the Brexit Party did surprisingly well.
Yeah, they took up half the seats in Wales. They did the best.
You can't say that Nigel Farage and the Brexit Party was just an England-only party, because they clearly weren't, because they were winning seats in Wales. They also won in Scotland. I think Nicola Sturgeon wouldn't want anyone to know that, but they did actually win a couple of seats in Scotland. The only places they didn't win was in Northern Ireland. However, Northern Ireland's a bit stranger with the politics, so who knows?
But as we can clearly see here, though, is that the reaction to the main political parties, so basically all these other parties have increased. Well, even Change UK, they got 3.4% of the vote, but what can you say?
Not the surge which everyone was expecting.
Actually, the funny thing is, you see Anne Soubry, she went, I forgot what show she was on, saying, for a party that was brand new, we had the biggest increase in votes for a brand new party. But Anna, you forgot about the party that actually won, gained seats and had the largest share of the vote. The Brexit Party, they were a new party, started 6 weeks ago. In fact, the Brexit Party is technically younger than the Independent Change UK group ever was.
Yeah, that's very true.
UKIP, well...
I think what we've seen in this election is there's a massive backlash against establishment parties. Parties such as Labour and Conservatives, who have, they're very dominant in this country. They've started to lose ground. I mean, if the map on display here, this is if it was done by, first past the post political system. If this was true, it is a landslide for the Brexit Party.
Yeah.
If these figures were a general election, the Brexit Party, surprisingly, would be able to form a majority government. Now, no one's saying that would actually happen because a general election is very different to the Euro elections. However, and as you can see, very, very divided is the nation. Scotland especially is mostly SNP territory.
Yeah.
And the rest of the nation is mostly Brexit Party with a little bit of Labour and a little bit of Lib Dems scattered around. Now, I can understand why, Nicola Sturgeon especially is saying that Scotland is very different to the rest of the United Kingdom, which is very true. It is very different. It's been very different since the 2014 independence referendum. But you can't really say that the United Kingdom's going to break up as a result of these elections, because that's not true. I think it's quite wrong to suggest that. And I think it's wrong for Nicola Sturgeon especially to suggest that this means Scotland has to remain in the European Union. Because not everyone voted for the SNP because they wanted to remain. And if you remember the 2017 general election, because she went so far in with the independence thing, she actually lost seats to the Conservatives. So Sturgeon is not as powerful, she's not as stable as everyone thinks she is. But anyway, that's another discussion. I could go on about Nicola Sturgeon all day.
So, what can we conclude from the European elections? Well, the Brexit Party won, didn't they?
Yeah.
You can't deny the fact, saying, the Brexit Party won. But actually, if we go back to it, people are saying, but if you look at it, the Leave Party's actually got a higher percentage of the vote. Well, actually, they're technically wrong. It's like saying, in the Premiership, shall we add up the points that each team in London gets and see if they can beat Man City or whoever's leading? I'm not interested in football, but we can't add points up from other parties to declare a winner overall. No. It's not how it works. Besides, if you actually look at the voters' share, let's say of parties that technically say they support Brexit, Lib Dems, their whole campaign was vote for Labour, Conservatives, Brexit Party, UKIP for Brexit, and vote Lib Dem against Brexit. So actually, if you look at it, the parties that officially, Labour, what can you say about that? But the parties that officially support Brexit added up technically do have the highest voter share. And if we look at it, the voter share of the referendum, of a study that was done by Lord Ashcroft and his team, and if we look at it, the opinion of the country's not really changed too much. It was still around 52-48 in terms of Leave and Remain. So not a whole much has actually changed in the country, apart from just proving again, we don't need a second referendum to prove that Brexit is still the number one thing that this country wants.
Yeah, I think also you need to have a look at context. Now, the Greens vote and seat number increase, but then you got to look at the context. There's been a lot of issues about climate change, a lot of the protesters and that raises awareness for the Green Party's cause. And if you look across Europe, European Union results, the Green Party have increased all over the place. So of course green issues are becoming more important. Yes, they said their main campaign was on Brexit and saying for a people's vote. I don't think that's true. I think Green Party vote has increased because people are now concerned about the environment. And as for the Lib Dems, you've also got to look at context in the fact that when the last elections were held in 2014, they were under the leadership of the jolly old Nick Clegg, and they were 4 years into the coalition, and they were 1 year away from being destroyed in a general election. Yeah. So, if anything, the Lib Dems have basically made gains in what they lost. Yeah. So yes, it was a successful night. I'm not going to say that Lib Dems didn't have a successful night. They did have a successful night. However, if you think from how badly they were affected by the coalition, they're doing a lot better now than what they did back then. So you've got to look at the context about these things.
Certainly. So you've seen a lot of people try and say the Brexit Party, like, they're trying to spin everything they can to try and justify basically them not winning. So I think people need to accept that having a second referendum's not going to change anything. We're still at the same position we were in 2016 of the voter share. The majority opinion is how a referendum works. And the majority opinion, as shown in these EU elections, is still that of leaving. Now, whether the opinion of how we leave, that could be debated on WTO terms, or people like to say no deal, but it's not really going to be just a no deal, is it? We're going to have some sort of arrangement. Whether we leave on WTO terms, then have to negotiate, which, of course, if the EU don't play ball, that could be difficult, because we're initially going to have that period where if we just leave and the EU aren't going to play ball initially, of course there's going to be some disruption and stuff. But if we can leave a no deal, then get the EU to say, hang on, actually we do want to trade after all, then that would be great. If we can get this, like we'll get onto this later, like a prime minister who would take that approach, even if we took that approach in 2016, we would have been in a much better position than we are today.
Yeah. And I think also the problem is the EU don't want us to leave in WTO terms for the simple reason, as we saw from these Euro elections, they're not saying a lot about it. I think they're not saying as much as they should.
No.
What we saw is the establishment bloc, because the European Parliament works in massive coalitions. They've been weakened. Le Pen won against Macron, and Le Pen is very right wing. Yeah. So Le Pen won against Macron. Merkel's Germany party lost support. It's happening all over the European Union, and people don't see there is a rise in the right. I mean, the new Nazi party in Germany, the new Nazi party gained seats to the point that the German government are even having to say that the Jewish population cannot wear the hats they wear anymore because they can't actually give their safety. This is a situation before World War II, and the European Union is imploding because people are sick of it. People want their country back. It was fine when it was just a little trade bloc, trade with each other, free trade. It's not that anymore. It's become far too political. It's become far too established, and there's going to be a massive backlash against this. And I think that Juncker and all of them are really concerned that these European elections are the first sign that parties which don't support the European Union are starting to gain support.
Well, if you look at it, it just shows that people have had enough of how the EU operates. And, well, essentially, whoever the next Prime Minister may be needs to take us out regardless of a deal or no deal. It just needs to be done. It's what the people wanted, and it's what the people need to have delivered by the extended deadline of the 30th of October. That's just what needs to happen.
Yeah. I think we've had, we're in a Brexit crisis. It sounds extreme, but we are. Now, Brexit has already cost 2 prime ministers their premierships. David Cameron lost all authority once the referendum didn't go his way. Theresa May has, over time, her authority has just been wiped out by Brexit. That could affect another prime minister if we have a prime minister who doesn't really have any principles and is just there as a compromise. And the problem when you have someone with who compromises is you don't please anyone.
No.
At least if you have a candidate who pleases a certain faction, then in the end they can win others round. If you just have a compromise, you're saying, oh well, we can do this, but we are going to do this as well. You can't do 2 things at the same time, and then you end up like Theresa May.
Yeah.
And the worst thing to happen is if a vote of no confidence is given in the government, we go to a general election and you end up with a hung parliament, and not just a hung parliament with Labour as the highest number of seats, because he will be supported by the SNP, and that would just be, let's face it, that would be a complete and utter car crash.
More of a car crash than Theresa May could have ever been. Yeah. I'll tell you that right now. So, I could say on voting day and over the weekend, we could say we did have actually a pretty successful day. Actually, you could say that. For full disclosure, we ended up in the end. I voted for the Brexit Party as well, and Tommy, you vote for?
I read all the candidates, and I voted because they were the only ones who I called the democracy candidates. Yeah. And I find it really annoying that they're being torn apart because they're standing up for democracy. Yeah. All the okay, if you voted for the Liberal Democrats, fair enough. You might have never wanted to leave the EU. However, I find it hard to believe that the Brexit Party got so much poor coverage. Yeah. Establishment media like the BBC, God, you should have seen the BBC's coverage of this. It was full on left wing propaganda trying to say, oh well, we can't overestimate the Brexit Party's vote. They won. They won in every region except Scotland and Northern Ireland. Yes,
and London.
Yeah, and London, of course. But London is a Labour stronghold, not so much anymore. And Scotland and Northern Ireland, they're never going to win seats in Scotland and Northern Ireland. I'm surprised they won Wales. They did better than I thought by winning Wales. So if anything, the country is more united than ever before. Yeah. But they don't see that. No. And of course, we have the establishment, Labour and Conservative parties still bickering it out, and they're not concerned about the country. Corbyn couldn't give a damn. He just wants to get in power. That's why he's going to call for a vote of no confidence, even before he's seen who the next Prime Minister is. Yeah. Now, I don't know how he can do that. I know that you can, but I'd like to think most leaders of the opposition figure out that they actually sometimes have to work with the Prime Minister and work with the government. Corbyn never did that. I know that there was some Labour Conservative talks. He was never enthusiastic about those talks. And I honestly think Corbyn went into them simply to pull out. I honestly don't think that Corbyn went in thinking, we're going to get on and do this.
And linking back to the other point about how you said about the media coverage of the Brexit Party, you're right in saying basically how crap it was. But if we actually... It's quite funny, after results day, after Brexit Party dominated the polls, dominated the election and came out as the top party, you should have seen all the media come swarming into them suddenly. All of a sudden, now they're the top party. All the media are now suddenly giving them loads and loads of attention. So it's just ironic that they tried so hard to basically eliminate the Brexit Party. The establishment always tried to do this. Even the Electoral Commission, before the EU referendum, they tried to do this again. They basically tried to kick up a thing about the party's finances. Yeah. Trying to think they have suspicion of fraudulent activities and them not declaring their fundings. They did the full investigation. They put it all over the news to try and scare people away from the Brexit Party. And what did they find? Nothing.
Yeah, it was simply a fear-mongering task, and they're doing it right now on another topic with good old Boris.
We'll get into that in a bit.
They can't cope with the idea that the country and people in the country are going against what they see as right. And that's the problem. We don't have an unbiased media in this country. We have a very biased media, and probably one of the most important the most unbiased things I've seen of this is BBC's election coverage on the night, where you had Laura Kuenssberg and all of them, because they weren't talking about different political parties. They were just simply discussing the results. That's probably the most unbiased we've got. Everything else has been the Brexit Party are bad, they're evil, they're horrible. I've seen footage from someone putting up the Dad's Army intro, but instead of the England, it's the Brexit Party with all Nazi flags around them. That is not constructive. No. That is simple left-wing fear-mongering. It's trying to scare people into thinking the Brexit Party are not Nazis. And if you actually look at it, what I think the Brexit Party has done is they've produced a grand coalition of people from all across the political spectrum. You've got businessmen, you've got former politicians, you've got leaders, entrepreneurs, and they're all united in the idea we need to stand up for democracy and we need to do it properly.
And they tried to, I forgot his name now, he's now an MEP now, he got elected in the London region. Basically, he's left-wing, well, far left I'd say, sprayed a Nazi swastika on his building turns out that this candidate is actually Jewish as well. So they don't realise at all.
They don't even read it. They don't even read up on it. They just see, Brexit Party must be Nazis.
Yeah.
And that's partly to blame for the media. It's also partly people's naivety.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm quite young, so I've gone to school with people who have been brainwashed by left-wing media. When the Brexit referendum happened, I remember seeing someone say, well, might as well kill myself now.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a bit extreme, isn't it? A bit extreme. I mean, we're not going to all die. People seem to think as soon as we leave the EU,
the United Kingdom, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I think we need to leave because it was democracy. We could have a vote again. We could have a referendum again. So let's say it's Remain. What happens then?
Yeah.
What about all the people that voted?
Let's have another referendum. Let's have another referendum. Let's have a referendum every year, shall we? That's a good idea, isn't it?
And what if the Leave vote has even increased?
Yeah.
What happens then? No matter what the media say, no matter if they say Boris Johnson lied or Nigel Farage is crooked or the Brexit Party's finances are all up the wall, people do not listen.
Yeah.
Because people just want a clean and orderly Brexit. I sound like Theresa May. A clean break. We should have just left. We should have said, right, end of 2016, we will leave. That's what we should have said. Instead, we decided, now let's expand it more and more and more to the point that no one trusts the political parties anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
And honestly, if Conservatives, this next leadership election is one of the most crucial leadership elections in the history of the Conservative Party, because if they don't recover from this, they are going to be destroyed, and they will be replaced with one of the most socialist and dangerous left-wing governments anyone has ever seen.
Yeah. So, following the EU election results, I don't think it was just that which came with Friday's news. We saw on Thursday, Andrea Leadsom, the leader of the House, resigned from the government. She resigned, and I think that was. And then there was a bunch of other MPs came out and said they're not going to support this deal, despite voting for the deal before. The deal that she brought back, that she was going to bring back, was even worse on votes on the single market, second referendum, and all that.
Even members of the cabinet, Home Secretary Sajid Javid, Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt, didn't say they supported this deal. So this was like,
they said they couldn't vote.
This was an explosion of her cabinet. And I remember a lot of people saying a little joke that Theresa May's premiership started with the resignation of Andrea Leadsom, and the premiership has ended with the resignation of Andrea Leadsom.
Yeah. So we saw on Friday, Theresa May came out, and she's gone.
Yeah.
She's gone. So let's watch what she had to say. We're not going to watch the entirety of the speech because we're going to be here for like God knows. So let's go to our screen capture and let's see what she said here.
Right, let's do this.
Our politics may be under strain, but there is so much that is good about this country, so much to be proud of, so much to be optimistic about. I will shortly leave the job that has been the honour of my life to hold. The second female Prime Minister, but certainly not the last. I do so with no ill will, but with enormous and enduring gratitude to have had the opportunity to serve the country I love.
Bye. Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I thought it was a good speech. I feel a little sorry for her a bit. Tiny bit, because when Cameron resigned, the speech was very different. He walked off humming at the end of the speech because Cameron resigned on his own free will. May did not resign on their own free will. She was basically forced out by the Conservatives, and this resignation has been huge. I mean, Sir Graham Brady has resigned from the 1922 as chairman of the 1922 committee. This resignation has completely it's kind of exploded, the Conservative Party, and now they're slowly trying to get themselves back together again. Of course, unlike 2016, when there was only 5 candidates going for it, in this contest, I think everyone thinks they stand a chance at going for it. So I think we're going to have a look at a few of them now. We're looking at them in alphabetical order because that's how the Wikipedia page does it, unfortunately. So we might come across the most popular, we might come across the most least popular. However, we're going to give our opinions on every one of them.
So, who's recently, just today, has announced their candidacy is James Cleverly. Now, he used to be the vice chairman of the Conservative Party. He's actually a relative new MP, to be honest with you.
Freshman MP, 2015.
2015, he was elected, and now, since I can't remember, last month he became a minister under the state of X in the European Union.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to think of James Cleverly. Like once he was vice chairman, he was always out doing press tours. He was always out. He was speaking more on behalf of the Conservative Party than Theresa May ever did. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
But he was always basically a press guy for Theresa May. Basically, he was always on programs arguing for the deal that she proposed and all that. Basically.
Yeah, Cleverly is kind of an odd one, to be honest, because he was chairman or vice chairman. You can't say anything bad about the Conservatives when you're in them, and as Matthew said, he's a relatively new MP. I don't think Cleverly stands a chance.
No.
I honestly think he's standing because he thinks he can be quite a likeable figure, which is true. I've heard him being interviewed by the BBC before. He comes across as just a nice, decent guy. So
yeah.
I think he might be going for that kind of, I know it sounds weird, that like Jeremy Corbyn, ordinary guy, you know. I don't think it's going to win him much, but he's only got one endorsement. And we have to say that all the endorsements, the numbers should include themselves, because of course all 313 MPs can vote, including those going for it. And so he's got himself to support. I don't think his campaign's going to gather any momentum.
No. The next one is Michael Gove. Hey, well,
yes. Now, in terms of all the candidates, the only thing you can say about Gove is he's got a pretty impressive government record. Education Secretary, Chief Whip, Justice Secretary, Environment Secretary. He's got loads of experience.
Yeah.
You cannot deny him that. An MP since 2005. And he, funnily enough, he has a lot of support in Scotland.
Yeah.
Because he comes from around that area. So the Scottish Conservatives actually really like him because they think he could win them seats in Scotland, which is the only thing Theresa May did well in the 2017 election. The only problem with Gove is, I'd have to say, his character and personality.
He like the way he deals with things. It's very slippery and snaky. And honestly, support Theresa May's deal to the end, despite him being voted for Brexit and always voting with the government for everything really. And now he wants to suddenly change his position up. Now Theresa May's going. I think Michael Gove. I can't trust the guy because of how he's always flip-flopping, changing his position and everything. And to Michael Gove's credit, he has given some good speeches in Parliament, such as towards the start of the year about the speech he gave for the government against, and the way he went into Labour. I thought that was really good. I could actually applaud him for that speech he did. But I still have the problem with, can I trust him as Prime Minister?
I think Gove has rebuilt his career since the 2016 leadership race. Of course, people still have that he stabbed Boris Johnson in the back.
Yeah.
I think Gove, if he had remained a backbencher, or even if he had gone against Theresa May's deal, I think he would have probably got more support. But because he's been fighting for this, it's for her deal, it's weakened his credentials. I think anyone, and this goes for all candidates, anyone who has been in the government of Theresa May until the end are going to really struggle to get people on side because her premiership's so unpopular. However, I think Gove could go quite far in this. I'd be very surprised if he gets to the Conservative membership vote.
I don't think he will. I think he'll come like fourth or third, I'd say,
Yeah.
in this.
If he does, I don't think he'll win the membership.
No. But he's got 25 endorsements so far, so
Yeah.
he's not like he's one of the ones who got a few. He's up there. I believe he's got like the third most endorsements so far.
Yeah, and I think some people are voting for him because he's a really good head of department.
Yeah.
You know, he was good at education, good at justice, and good in the environment. And what a lot of people don't understand about Gove is he's not a very right-wing conservative.
No.
He's quite, I think they call him compassionate conservative.
Yeah.
Because he's come up with a lot of liberal policies, especially in the environment. He became
Yeah.
a bit of an eco-warrior at one point. So I think Gove has got very good credentials. I wouldn't mind seeing him in a government. Again, maybe in a higher position, like Home Secretary, maybe. I don't see him as winning this leadership contest.
No. So the next one we've got in the good
God.
old leadership contest is Matt Hancock. Now, Matt Hancock, he's been MP since 2010. Terms of him being experienced, he's only had 2 minister roles, and that was last year. So he was Culture Secretary for only 6 months in 2018. Then he became Health Secretary shortly after that.
Boy, he took over a rough job from Jeremy Hunt as Health Secretary.
Yeah.
But I can't. Matt Hancock voted Remain,
No.
and he is basically, I think, one of the main reasons why the cabinet of Theresa May fell, because he was a Remainer, and he was shoved in there because there weren't really many other
No.
people to choose from. At this point, a lot of Conservatives were like, no way, I'm not getting involved.
He
in
came
that.
into the Health Secretary at a point where Boris Johnson resigned, so Jeremy Hunt took up his position as Home Secretary of Health Foreign Secretary. So they had to get someone to fill the
Yeah.
void somehow.
And I've heard Hunt speak. Now,
I mean Hancock.
oh yeah, I've heard Hancock speak. He's one of the most blandest and boring politicians
personality.
I've ever seen, and he just reminds me of Theresa May.
He's a male carbon copy of Theresa May, and is just how he speaks. So yes, I believe in going for Prime Minister because we need strong and stable leadership in the national interest.
Yeah,
I wonder where he got that line from.
he's just I don't.
He's not got the personality
No,
of a leader,
he's
that's for
not
sure.
gonna. I don't think he's gonna win. He's got a few endorsements from a lot of Remainers actually. Damien Green, former First Secretary of State, so he has got it. And I've heard rumours that Philip Hammond also thinks Hancock would be a good idea. But then again, I think
Hammond's hardcore Remainer.
I think Hammond's out of the job because he's very hardcore.
Yeah, he's going to be out of a job,
So-
no doubt.
So Hancock, no way. I don't even see him surviving.
The next one, which we
Oh.
actually this came a bit of a surprise on
Yeah,
how well he's
very-
doing so far.
Very big well, he was doing well.
Well, he still is. He's still doing the best.
I know, but momentum's died down.
Jeremy Hunt. Now, Jeremy Hunt's been an MP since 2005 and is currently serving as the Foreign Secretary.
But let's face it, most people know him best
As the Health Secretary.
Longest serving Health Secretary of modern
And people probably
times.
know him as probably one of the worst health secretaries as well.
Yeah. Hunt did a lot of things. I mean, I'm a Conservative. I don't agree with what Hunt did with the Hunt Health Service.
No.
I think he really poorly managed it, and his long tenure didn't improve over time.
No.
And then he became in charge of social care alongside health secretary stuff, which he kind of didn't do a lot with as well. Now, despite being very hated, he's kind of died down a bit since being foreign secretary. He hasn't really said much. Hasn't really been getting involved
Until
with a lot of things.
now, with Jeremy Hunt, let's be honest, he's someone else who I would not want in charge of the country, full stop. With how people know him as the health secretary, how essentially he was a bit of a knob in the health secretary. He's got the most amount of endorsements as well, which is very surprising.
I was surprised.
But Jeremy Hunt, he's come out and said that he's going to take no deal off the table, full stop. He's essentially he's a bit like Theresa May.
He's shot himself in the foot with that. Some of the he's got 29 now.
He's gone back up though.
But it went back down to like 27 at some point because a lot of people fled to go.
Yeah.
Because Jeremy Hunt, you know, when he's first announced, he didn't really say where he stood on Brexit. He said he was now a Leave supporter, but he didn't really say what he stood. So a lot of people go into him as a kind of a compromise. However, because he said so firmly against no deal, he's lost a bit of momentum now.
Yeah.
Now, personally, I see Hunt maybe getting to the membership vote. I don't see him winning. I think he's hated amongst the membership.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Especially because of his tenure as health secretary, because his health secretary tenure was so bad. Now, I'm not going to say that Hunt's a failing politician. You know, there are worse, such as Chris Graylin's a lot worse.
Failing Graylin.
But I honestly don't think Hunt is popular in the country enough to win a general election.
No.
Not for the membership either. He might be popular amongst MPs, although I don't even know if he's popular amongst some of these MPs. I think they're just going for him because they don't like the others. So I just see Hunt as a bit of a compromise.
So the next one we've got is Sajid Javid.
Now, I actually like this man. He's got quite a lot of cabinet experience. He worked very closely with George Osborne on a lot of things.
He used to be in the Treasury, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I personally like Sajid Javid. I think he's a very capable politician. I think he's done really well at the Home Office.
Yeah.
Because Amber Rudd left that in a bit of a mess. I think he's done well in that. I don't think he's going to win this. But I see him as maybe Home Secretary.
Prime Minister for the future.
Yeah. I see him as a very Prime Minister for the future kind of guy. He would definitely win ethnic minority votes, because you've got to think about that. He would win that. And I think he's a very capable, he's not like Hunt,
No.
He's very capable. And he was a Remainer, but only by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah.
He is very Eurosceptic, a lot more than people think he is. And I can see him as a very uniting figure, but I see him as not this time, maybe next time.
I don't know, how would he handle Brexit? We just don't know.
No.
And I think you need someone who was 100% Brexit in order to deliver Brexit. I think we need someone who was believing it from the start.
Yeah. Javid hasn't really said how he feels about Brexit, which is well, he's not very good.
But talking about people who do believe very strongly in Brexit is Boris Johnson.
Good old Boris.
Now, Boris Johnson, I'm a little bit on the fence on who to entirely support on this, but he was one of two choices that I quite liked personally. Now, Boris Johnson, he originally became an MP back in 2001, but he left in 2008 when he got elected as Mayor of London. After his tenure as Mayor of London, he became an MP yet again, and straight in as the Foreign Secretary under Theresa May's new government.
Now, Boris has a very colourful history in politics. A lot of people think, he's a bit of a joke. However, for a joke, he was Mayor of London for 8 years, and he was re-elected as Mayor of London. He introduced a lot of good things, including the Boris spikes.
Yeah, and he got crime down in London. Now, actually, if you look at Boris himself, people saying, we don't need the far right. Boris Johnson, is he far right though? Yes, he has. Yes, he said he would be prepared to take us out on no deal if he couldn't negotiate anything else. But if you look at Boris Johnson, of course he's made some controversial comments in the past, but if you look at his tenure as Mayor of London, actually, if you look at it, a lot of his policies are more liberal than far conservative.
I think he's very more liberal than people think. He was good friends with David Cameron, or good friends and a rival of David Cameron. However, they both agreed in a very more socially liberal policies. I see Boris as a lot more liberal than people think he is. And I honestly think he'd be better than a lot of people think he is. I don't think people give him enough credit. And I think people kind of think, he's a joke, write him off straight away. I don't think he would be that bad, to be honest. And I see him winning the general election, especially if it's against.
He's had this image of being a bit of a clown, a bit of a joke, but actually, I think Boris Johnson's actually he is a very intelligent man. He plays it off a bit as being a bit of a joke sometimes, but recently he's tried to sharpen up his image a lot more. But I think he used to play on being a bit of a funny guy, a bit of a joke, but I think he's actually a very intelligent man. Yeah,
especially as Foreign Secretary, he mellowed down quite a lot.
Yeah.
When he was Mayor of London, yes, he had a laugh a lot. that got him elected.
And he did a good job with it as well. He was meant to be that figurehead.
Yeah, he was meant to be there. He was mayor of London during the Olympics.
Yeah.
Which, you know, who better to have as mayor of London during the Olympics than Boris Johnson?
Yeah.
I think Johnson will definitely get to the membership. And if he gets membership, I think he'll win the membership.
Yeah.
It's only if the MPs will side with him.
Yeah. So next on the list is Andrea Leadsom.
Now, yes, Andrea Leadsam's a strange one because she was up against Theresa May. She got to the final round and she dropped out. I think she only got there because a lot of people didn't like Gove at the time, and Boris Johnson pulled out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Andrea Leadsom isn't a capable politician, because I think she is. I see her as maybe Chancellor. Funnily enough, I see her as Foreign Secretary.
Yeah.
I see her as having a major role in the next government. I don't see her running the next government.
No.
Because I think she's not supported as much.
She's not got enough support, no.
She's not supported as much as I don't think she thought she was. I think she thought she was way more supported than she was. And I can't really say much about her, to be honest. She was very quiet as leader of the House.
Yeah.
And Environment Secretary, she didn't really do much because she couldn't, because she was only in there for about less than a year.
Yeah.
She's non-controversial. That's the only quality she has.
Yeah. Next on the list is Kit Malthouse, who's currently the housing minister since last year.
And he was deputy mayor of London.
Yeah.
Under
So
Boris
he worked with Boris as well. Relatively new MP since 2015, only been there for 4 years actually. I don't really know what to say about Kit Malthouse.
I don't think he stands a chance.
No, he's only he's not one of the most popular ones, that's for sure, in terms of endorsements from MPs.
And honestly, I don't know much about Kit Malthouse.
No.
I've never heard of Kit Malthouse.
No.
Even as deputy mayor, I didn't hear about.
No.
So I don't think Kit Malthouse will get a chance.
The next one on the list is Esther McVey. Now, Esther McVey is probably the newest MP out of the list. She was elected in 2017.
She was an MP for...
Well, she was originally elected in 2010, but they lost her seat, came back in 2017. And she was the Work and Pensions Secretary for just under a year. That was her first cabinet role, and she resigned over Theresa May's deal.
She walked out with Dominic Raab back when the deal, for the first deal, was due to be presented and all of that. McVey is a leaver. I think she's a strong supporter of leaving.
She said she would take us out on no deal if that was the option.
I see McVey as kind of favourable amongst the right wing of the party.
Yeah.
Not saying too right. I think they might be the rightist right of the party. I don't think she has enough support all over the party though. She's relatively new. Obviously, because she lost her seat, she lives in an unstable area, and it's very bad. That's one thing they always check. It's very bad if they go into a general election and the Prime Minister loses their seat.
Yeah.
That's why Theresa May had a very stable seat in Maidenhead. I don't know, Tatton, she might have a very strong majority in Tatton. I'm not sure. I think she's too inexperienced.
Yeah.
I don't think she's experienced enough. I mean, she's had a couple of months as Work and Pensions Secretary, and that's basically it. She hasn't really done much since then. She hasn't become a popular figure.
No.
I think she's running because the right want her to run, rather than actually running for a reason.
Yeah. Now, the next candidate on the list is Dominic Raab. Now, I was saying earlier about the MPs which I would endorse or support. I don't know yet. It depends at what stage they get to, of what I would go with in the end. But I either want to support Boris Johnson or Dominic Raab. Now, I actually quite like Dominic Raab for a few reasons. It starts on Brexit. I think he talks a lot of sense in terms of that. He's been an MP since 2010. He was, as everyone knows, the Brexit Secretary, taken up from David Davis, until November 2018, when he also resigned with Esther McVey over the deal. Now, Dominic Raab, of course, he's one of his most famous supporters is David Davis. He came out swinging for him as well.
Yeah, I mean, Raab was virtually unheard of before he became Brexit Secretary. I don't think he's actually known for being the Brexit Secretary. He's known for quitting as the Brexit Secretary. Now, I'm not going to lie. When Matthew said about Dominic Raab, I said no. I see him I see him as far too right wing. But
I don't know.
Actually reading up on him and seeing some of the stuff he said on Twitter, and especially when he was laying out his plans, he's not as right wing as I thought he was. He seems to have a lot of. He wants to clear up politics. He wants to, make politics nice and again, and he also wants to. He really seems to take a massive stance on education.
Yeah.
Other than Brexit, he's saying we need to, focus on education. We need to focus on the health service more. So I see Raab as actually not as right wing as I thought, and in a little nod to where we live in Northwest Norfolk, our local MP Henry Bellingham has said he will endorse Dominic Raab.
I don't think he's Dominic Raab. I wouldn't class him as liberal, but I wouldn't class him as right wing. He's more in the middle of the Conservatives, I'd say, if I'm honest with you.
And that will win him support from both sides. Now,
so far, he's got the third most support.
He's basically, I think he shares a lot of the same views as Boris.
Yeah.
The only difference is he's not as controversial as Boris.
Yeah.
And as I said to you, I see this as a contest like in 2005, where it was in the established David Davis who was the favourite to win, and the young and uncontroversial David Cameron, who ended up sweeping the membership. So if it does go to the membership, I see some of the membership, when it comes down to it, thinking Raab is less controversial, and it's good to have a fresh pair of eyes, especially in the Brexit.
The way I see Dominic Raab is that he can bring a fresh face to the Conservatives. He could essentially bring a refresh that's needed to it.
Because it is after Theresa May, it looks very old, very it just looks tired. The Conservative Party look tired. They've been in power for over 9 years now. Yeah. And if they want to make it to the next general election, I think they need someone fresher and new. And to be honest, out of all of them at the moment, I'm kind of like Matthew. I would support Boris Johnson and Dominic Raab. I'd more support Dominic Raab if I could vote in this. I can't get to vote because I'm not a member of the Conservative Party. I would more vote for Dominic Raab though. And our next one, the 11th and final candidate.
What can you say? One
of the best politicians who ever existed, Rory Stewart. He's a Member of Parliament for Penrith and the Border since 2010. And he was made the International Development Secretary since May 2019. And he announced his candidacy on the 2nd of May 2019.
He announced he'd go for the job like a day after he got his first cabinet job.
So talk about power going to your head. I didn't know what to make of Stewart.
He's a nobody. He came out as soon as he got a cabinet role. I'm going to be the next leader. I'm going to unite this country because everyone who are you?
I didn't know what he was, and then I saw a video when he was saying stuff.
Come meet me in the bar.
Oh my god, he would be worse than Theresa May. I know I said Matt Hancock is kind of like Theresa May. This guy is worse than Theresa May. It's like Philip Hammond.
He is, yes.
Rory Stewart is the Philip Hammond candidate. Someone who is just so pro-Remain. I mean, he is pro-Remain. He said we can't leave without a deal. And now he's costing himself any future cabinet roles by saying Sajid Javid is rubbish, Boris Johnson is rubbish, Dominic Raab is rubbish. He's attacking every
he's attacked. No wonder why he's only got 2 endorsements. He's even said, would you serve under Boris Johnson? Because no, absolutely not. He's divided himself.
Yeah, he's not apparently he's not going to serve under any of the candidates.
He's out of a job.
Yeah, so, and I think people are sick of hate. I mean, Dominic Raab has put a Twitter post out saying...
He's launched a campaign which was backed by, so far, Matt Hancock and Sajid Javid.
It's basically running a clean campaign. Now, Rory Stewart isn't going to run a clean campaign. We've seen that already. No. I hope he pulls out before the contest. I don't think he will pull out because I think his ego won't let him. But international development is not really a massive secretarial role.
No.
And since May, I can't believe that. Since May, so his first cabinet position, okay, he might have been a junior minister or something, but his first actual cabinet position, when he's in charge of a department, was in May. So basically, what you're saying is, he came right at the end of Teresa's premiership.
20 days on the job.
About a couple of days probably a couple of weeks before Theresa May announced her resignation, she appointed him because she was running out of MPs willing to support her. If Rory Stewart gets in, I will apologise.
There's no chance.
No, if it does happen,
There's no
we've got to
chance.
give everyone a chance. Me and Matthew will both give a public apology on TPN about how sorry we are.
There is no chance in how he's going to get elected.
I mean, obviously, there's loads more who apparently might be running, like Graham Brady and loads of others. Basically, I think what this leadership contest shows is everyone thinks they got a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, we take the mick out of Rory Stewart or Matt Hancock, but they think they have a chance.
Yeah.
That's how divided the Conservatives are at the moment.
I already see how this is going. So who's going to be in the top 4, just by endorsement of MPs, you already know it's going to be Michael Gove, Jeremy Hunt, Boris Johnson and Dominic Raab. They're going to be the top 4. Now, with how split the Conservative Party can be, I see this either going 2 ways. Boris Johnson or Dominic Raab versus Gove or Jeremy Hunt. That's how I see this going.
And of course the membership, unless everyone resigns, or unless everyone pulls out, the membership make the decision. Now the membership is mostly no deal,
Brexit.
Yeah, quite hard Brexit lean-ins. I don't think they're going to go for a compromise like Theresa May again.
They wouldn't elect Jeremy Hunt.
No, they won't go for Jeremy Hunt. They could go for Gove, because technically Gove is leave, and Raab and Johnson obviously leave.
But Johnson and Raab there, I see the membership swinging towards either of them.
I think it'll be a weird contest if it's Boris Johnson versus Dominic Raab.
Yeah,
that would
be
a
very
weird contest, because I wouldn't see who would win that.
No.
I would have to say Dominic Raab, surprisingly.
They stand for a few of the same things, don't they?
I think if it was Dominic Raab versus Michael Gove, I think it'd be Raab.
Mm.
If it was Dominic Raab versus Jeremy Hunt, definitely be Raab.
Yeah.
If it was Johnson versus Gove or Hunt, I see Johnson winning. Maybe with Gove by a bit of a narrower margin than he would do with Hunt.
Yeah.
Honestly, if any of the other candidates surprise us, I mean, you know, there could be a massive surprise. Who knows? Sajid Javid might all of a sudden gain like 50 endorsements.
You never know.
I don't see that happening. But obviously, once that new leader is in, that's just the first thing, because they'll have a new cabinet, and as we've already said, you know, Philip Hammond will be gone because I think in the last couple of weeks he's become a very unpopular chancellor, especially with him saying, you know, if they go for a no deal, he's going to take down the next prime minister. So Hammond's out of a job. And as for all of the others, I think poor old Rory Stewart won't have a job.
Be interesting to see who also the members of the cabinet who aren't running for prime minister will support.
Yeah.
Now they're not going to announce the cabinet ministers who aren't running for leader aren't going to announce who they support until probably about June 10th, after Theresa May has officially resigned as leader.
Now Amber Rudd has kind of hinted she would support Boris Johnson.
She said she could work up with him.
Yeah.
Basically.
And I'm surprised Rudd didn't go for it herself, but then she's got such a weak constituency seat that she probably thought, I can't really go for that.
No.
But honestly, I see quite a few fresh faces, especially if Raab gets in. I see David Davis maybe being Chancellor.
Yeah.
Because, you know, reward the people who got you into power. I know they say politics shouldn't be based on patronage, it should be based on rewarding those who got you in power. Politics does kind of work like that. You do reward people who help you get in. I think it's going to be a very interesting contest, and to be honest, I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be interesting.
It's
that's
very
for sure.
interesting. After that first round of voting, there'll be a much clearer idea. Ones like Hancock and that, I think Stewart will be wiped out first, and then I think probably 5, 6, 7 will probably just withdraw then and then. Obviously, some will stay in because they think they're great, but. Some will just...
Rory Stewart will stay till the end, won't he?
Even if he's wiped out in the first round, he'll still be campaigning
for himself.
Oh, he was a brilliant man. Oh, God, he's great.
Anyway, I think that takes us up to almost the hour. Thank you guys for watching again. If you enjoyed listening to us ramble on about the world and the political climate, make sure to give it a like, and if you And if you want them foul-mouthed Lib Dems who don't like Brexit, make sure to dislike this video, just so we know we've pissed you
Yeah,
off.
please. I'm looking forward to seeing the dislikes, but Lib Dems. Oh yeah, Vince Cable's got a leadership election going up as well. But yeah, no one really cares. No one cares. But UKIP have one as well.
Yes,
you don't care.
Dead. They've got 3 councillors.
I think Rory Stewart should go for the Lib Dem leadership. He'd have a better chance than what he's got in this one.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. We have been the TPN Network. We're going to try and bring you more podcasts like this in the future. We're going to try and get Tommy set up with his own little setup at home where he can actually, connect to us and actually, unlike last week where his microphone's not very great.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
we either do podcasts like this or podcasts separate.
Over the internet.
Really depends if we can meet up or depends what's going on. I look forward to more discussions in the future, especially as this contest continues, and I look forward to seeing who the next Prime Minister is going to be.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening today. We've been the TPN Network, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.